Grand setting, everybody. How are you doing? Finally, we're going to hold our interview with my beautiful sister. She's African American. She was born and brought up in America. Her dad got to travel to Kenya and was amazed by how beautiful Africa is. And he's lived in Africa for 6 years. So I met her through the dad, of course, online. I did not like meet them one on one, but I'm so excited that African Americans are actually helping us to spread this message, because it's not easy for people who have been outside the experience to share the message. But when you get it from our own, descendants of those of us who were taken away by the colonizers and the enslavers, when you get it from them, it makes it's just amazing that they are willing and ready to educate us on their experience and what they think about us and our way forward. So welcome on board, my lovely sister Timis. Sorry, let me get your name right. Timila Ampri. And your name sounds African. You will tell us about that. And yay! I'm so happy we made it. Guys, share the video. Welcome, sis. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm excited to meet you. You're most welcome.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, let's start right away. I know you're busy, so I'm not gonna keep you for long.
Okay.
But please, you can introduce yourself, just your names, where you were born and brought up, and yeah, just that.
Okay. My name is Tamila, and I was born in Richmond, Virginia. I currently live in the Richmond, Virginia area as well, but I have traveled different areas in the United States, and now Kenya as well. But I am one of five siblings. My dad is Timothy Garnes. Um, so yeah, I'm married. I have three little ones, 7, 3, and 1 years old.
Wow, that's nice. I love kids a lot.
Yeah.
So your name sounds African. I don't know if you know the meaning or you know the background of your name, but I like the sound of it. It sounds so African.
So I don't know if it's an African name. I will say in my family, I can't remember if it's on my dad's or mom's side. Dad, you'll have to let me know. But my dad's name is Timothy, so all of us have Tim in our names.
Oh,
We
wow.
also all have, well, before some of us are married, we all have his initials. So my name is Tamila Ambre.
Oh,
Used to be Garnes. Yeah.
okay. Oh, that's amazing. So, what were your experience growing up? What did you know about Africa? What did you hear? Where did you hear it from? Did you have any friends that are not African American? What's your experience?
So growing up, um, when it comes to Africa, I think just like most American kids, most of what I learned and knew was what I saw on TV. A lot of those commercials with the poor children, starving, that type of thing. That's what I was exposed to when it comes to Africa itself. And then when it came to Black history, I really only was aware of what I knew in our history books in school. So it was kind of this very small, small picture of a few of our most typical, the Martin Luther King and the, Rosa Parks, that kind of thing. Um, so a limited scope for sure. And then of course there was this highlight where we kind of started with we were slaves, but as
Yeah.
far as history that kind of went prior to that, I was not aware of that. And I think growing up, I was comfortable. I was in my small town. It wasn't really, it was kind of like a black or a white thing. And I kind of stayed within my family, my people who I knew. I think as I got older, and we moved around a bit, I became a bit more aware of different types of culture and what that actually meant. Like, what does it mean to be Black, and dealing with aspects of what racism looks like, and then having my own personal experiences with that. So,
All right. So, at what point did you start to realize that your color is Black? Is it at school, or did your parents ever sit you down and tell you that, this environment we live in is like this and that, and what was your experience?
when I was a child, I remember hearing my grandparents make little comments. They were having grown up talk, but I was always listening, and I would hear them just saying things like, just little comments about, how maybe a white man treated them or something like that. And again, as a child, I really didn't understand what was going on. But I think when I got into high school, that's when things really, I became more aware, because as you know, when you're a teenager, you're going through lots of changes. There's a lot of comparison going on. And I remember a lot of times my features would be compared to the features of other cultures, white specifically, and saying that my features weren't good enough because they didn't look this way or that way. That's really when it hit, like, there's
I'm
people
different.
are actually discriminating against me because of how I'm made, how I'm born. So
Mhm. All right. So did you ever feel like, from the history that did you ever feel like you really want to know this Africa, or you want to meet Africans who are in America, so that you can either maybe ask them or try to know, or you are like, okay, let's just cope with it?
well, I'm very much like my dad in the sense that I love to learn. Now it's so much to our history, and I feel like it was a little bit intimidating. So when I was younger, though I was curious, I had no idea where to start.
Yeah,
And so I think, you're kind of piecemealing information from here and there, but like, to start doing my own research, I'm like, there's so much out there. Where do I even begin? So I think, honestly, not until more recently do I feel more comfortable, but I think it's because, social media is a great tool where so
yeah,
many people are beginning to open you up to, these are where you can find certain resources. Now I'm like, okay, at least I know where I can start
sure.
reading or learning. So I am grateful that social media is available to us.
Yeah. Okay, so now that you say you traveled to Kenya recently.
Yes.
So how was that experience? I'm excited to know.
It was amazing. So it was very eye-opening. As I told you, from childhood, yes, that picture is what I saw a lot. But of course, growing up, I understand that, there's so much more to it than that. And so I think what was most important to me going to Kenya was I wanted to go with no preconceived specific ideas. Of course, I watched videos and things like that just to get an idea of what we wanted to see and do while we were there. But like, I even told my dad that it was really important to me that this wasn't just vacation, because if you go for vacation, you're only going to enjoy, have fun, but you're not really going to connect with people. You're not
Learn.
paying attention to the land, the area. So
Yeah.
in going there, it was just amazing to me to see so many of us everywhere. Uh,
Yeah.
not that's not necessarily the picture here unless you specifically go to an event catered
Yeah.
to us. And just to see us living life, to see children, to see so many young Black boys playing soccer, like here, that's not the case. We are typically not
Yeah.
interested in soccer here.
Yeah.
um, so, yeah, it was very eye-opening. I mean, I was just paying attention to everything.
All right. So now that you saw what you saw, you experienced it by yourself, what message would you give to your African American? I don't know whether you people are comfortable with us calling you African American, because I hear that some of you do not like to be called that because of the history you were given, that, we sold you by force and all these things. So I don't know, what experience would you tell them? And did you learn about the slavery, how it happened? And do you think it's true that we actually sold our people out? So what message would you want to give to your own African Americans?
To African Americans, You know, I'm again, as I said, this journey is new for me as far as learning. So I'm definitely not going to speak as somebody who knows everything. I have a lot to learn, and I'm okay with saying that. But what I will say is I think it's important to take the opportunity to open yourself up to learn. Because as long as we continue to just live life as normal, how can we really be informed about who we are?
Yeah.
As I said, being here, I realized that we've kind of moved ourselves into going with the flow of life. Like you said, kind of dismissive. We're just living our lives, focused on, you know, making money, getting a job. But then you walk around, I think there was a difference that I saw going to Kenya.
Yeah.
Most people know who they are and where they come from. Over
Yeah.
here, we know we Black, and that's about all we know. And so you can kind of see the difference of feeling like you're trying to fit in all the time. And so
Yeah.
I think that, you know, if I could talk to another African American, it's like, be willing to take a trip, be
Yeah.
willing to read a book. Don't be intimidated by learning, because
Yeah.
how else will you grow? How else will you build confidence in who you are? I mean, there's a lot of deep rooted pain in our history.
Yeah.
And living in America there's a lot of opportunity here, but it's also hard to be here in some
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that just because there's a lot of horrible things that are going on here, even to this day with racism and inequality, there's a way that we can actually function and thrive here. But I think it starts with knowing who we are first.
Exactly. You're right. You're
So that's
right.
kind of where.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, I love that message. Like, you know, we don't really have to say that we are moving back to Africa. And we also need to know the truth. Is it true that they really sold people, or people were captured by fools? And then the rest of the people who remained also were colonized. You know, it's either you're doomed if you do, doomed if you don't. It was not an option that we had. People were being forced and all that stuff happened. So when we are able to know the truth, then we can forgive one another and mend the pieces that were broken by other people. And also, we have to stop the blame game, you know? We have to stop pointing fingers and see how can we heal each other? How can we move ahead without all the bitterness and trauma? And that's the only way we can help ourselves.
Yeah, I
love that. It's okay, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I would agree with what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So what about the Africans who come to America? So like for me, I was in America for 4 years and I could not just fit in. I was very uncomfortable about racism, very uncomfortable about the gun violence towards Black men, especially, very uncomfortable by the fact that most of our families that come from Africa, once they get there, they make the money, then the women become like they don't want to be with their men anymore. So you find that they're calling the police on their men and all these things. I was like, I'm going back home. I just went back to Africa. And then that is when I decided, although I had some visions before the corona, I had visions about uniting Africa and that it was going to take the power of men, because this world has been run by power of women. Sorry. This world has been run by men most of the time. They're the president, they're the policemen, they're the ones doing all these things. And I had this vision that it was going to take the women standing up for us to create the balance, because the way it's going, it's not balanced, you know. So I went back home and I decided to appoint myself as a Black activist.
Okay.
Yeah, but my people were like, you crazy, how can you leave America? So I lost many friends, lost many family people. They would not even talk to me. I used to send people money when I was in America. The money was not there anymore. So people withdrew from me. So that's when again I left Africa, but I said, you know what, I'm still going to do this, because it was a calling, it was so powerful vision, I couldn't let it go. So I came to Europe, but I still want to go back home after some time and just continue this journey and see how far it's gonna take me. So what message would you give to Africans who come to America on how we should treat each other?
I think it's the same, but just in reverse. So just like me going to Kenya, it was overwhelming because it was new. And, I'm a foreigner in a land where they, we all, it's, we're not necessarily different. It's just the way that our culture is, it is different compared to America. And so, 2 weeks for me, I was there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks is absolutely not enough to really feel comfortable, functioning and knowing things. And so it takes time. And so if you only kind of take your first short time there as a full picture of what it means or what it looks like to live in America, it's probably going to be very hard because it's different. But like I said before, I believe that we as a people can thrive here. It is hard. It's not easy at all. But I think the difference in someone who can thrive, regardless of the opposition we face, is knowing who we are. Because when you have that confidence, you're not buckling and you're not chasing after things. You're not trying to become someone that you're not in order just to be accepted when you have already been accepted. So I feel like coming over, definitely be willing and open to learn and take what you see, it's a learning opportunity, but not to run away or be afraid of it. But I won't lie and say that it's easy to just look past it. It is difficult. But I believe that we have a place here as well. And so I think the beautiful thing is connecting. Like for me, I think my most memorable moments from Kenya are the people we met. The people we met. I won't forget them. And when I go back, I do plan to return. I remember them, and I trust that they'll be supportive in helping me to learn. They taught me and my husband a lot of things. So I think the same for a Kenyan to come here. It's, find some people that you can connect with and hear their stories. How are they, making it here? How are you learning to grow and thrive here in America? And maybe that would be helpful.
Yeah, you're very right. So what do you think we can do as a Black nation? For me, my dream is to have the Black nation see ourselves as one family instead of the small tribes that we've been divided into. There's African American, Caribbean American, all this and that. Like for them, they see themselves as white, but Black is divided in so many small tribes and clans. And, for me, my dream is to be able to open ourselves up and see ourselves as family, support our businesses, support, our culture, not be ashamed and bitter about our ancestors, and just try to find out the truth about what really happened. So what would you think is the way forward for all of us?
I think kind of what you're doing, which I think is amazing, is you're trying to continue to create awareness, and then you're giving other people the space to share. And so as other people are watching, they are learning. And as we learn each other's stories, again, like I said, one thing I realized going to Kenya is, it's easy when you don't know. I have friends that are like, you went to Africa? What was it like? And they think it's so different, and it is culturally. But we're all trying to do the same thing. It's just, it looks different. So if you make assumptions only, you'll never know that person. So I think making the space, creating awareness, and welcoming people and not being judgmental or comparing. We're going to be different, and that's okay. But like you said, the differences is what makes us beautiful. And I think even though I was a little intimidated by being asked, well, where are you from? Who do you belong to? Learning why they ask those questions and learning those different tribes, I was like, it's so broad. There's so many of us in so many different ways, how we look, how we live. So I think like you're doing, just creating awareness, and even starting young. I think about my children. My children have had an advantage because I'm at the place where I've been made aware of things. So if we start young, our children don't have to grow up and be 35 just trying to figure out what this looks like. So I want to teach my children as well.
Awesome. I was going to ask you that do you think it's something that you'd teach your children? But you already answered that.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Please, next time you go to Kenya, I know by then I would not be home yet. Make sure you go to my home, say hi to my mother. I'll give you their contact. They'll give you gifts, and then you always always remember, like, I want you to feel at home whenever you're in that soil. Know you have a sister there, and I know that one time or another we'll actually meet physically, and it will be nice.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.